Well, hello and welcome to episode number 448 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I am Carlos, and in this week's show, one aircraft does a very short field landing, another A380 is reborn, and one suitcase goes on its very own airport trip without any human interaction. In the military news this week, we get an update on the ongoing development of the newest Air Force One, and the USS Gerald Ford, and the Navy's newest aircraft carrier gets underway. So, joining me this week over in the PTUK Master Suite studios, it's the man who never stresses about anything in life. It's Matt Smith.
One of these days, you're going to run out of things to say to me that where I Anyway, I'm sorry. I've lost the ability to talk this evening. This could be a problem.
And wow, we were all so chipper before this show, and as soon as we go live, it all just falls apart. Yeah, it's our first public speech ever.
Yeah. You should have heard Matt's show on the radio yesterday afternoon, and it was
oh dear, what did I say?
Entertaining.
Yeah, what did I say? I can't remember now. Go on.
I can't repeat it because it's just not it's not friendly.
Wasn't that bad? It was to do with school closures, and I said clothing rather than closures, basically, and then Carlos lost his mind, essentially, nearly crashed his car twice.
I've never returned home from work with an aching stomach. Normally it's arms and legs, but never an aching stomach from laughing.
Okay, yes, all right, thanks for that. Yeah, much appreciated.
Anyway, good to be back on the show. I'm good to be back in the on the old YouTube as usual. Nice to see you here as always, Matt. And it's safe to say that everything's going swimmingly this evening.
Well, so far, yes, absolutely. Yes, everything was done just in time.
You may have noticed we are missing a team member this week. Unfortunately, the legend that is Neville Bounds is not with us. He's gone to somewhere where I think it would be an 80s character, wouldn't it, Matt? A crime character from the UK called Bergerac used to frequent the island of
Jersey. Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he's there.
Are you all right, Carlos? I'm really quite...
And Nev actually sent me a picture this afternoon, actually, from the view from his hotel, which actually, funnily enough, overlooks exactly where we were in September last year for the Jersey.
That's nice.
Which is nice. And I think Nev's in the process of securing some good roomage for this year's air show when we're back there.
Good roomage. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Big balcony, I think he's trying to secure for us.
I bet, yeah.
And joining us this week, he's back again. It was good to have him back, as always, because he's normally busy flying somewhere. But he's managed to put down the PC-12 and the Hawker and park it up for the night. It's Armando.
Well, hello, everyone. Happy St. Paddy's Day. It's if you're listening live to the show, it's probably somewhere between 1 in the afternoon and 3 in the morning if you're in Australia. So I hope everybody's having a grand old time, because we are.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Are we allowed to ask about the plane?
It's not great, my friends.
No.
I continue getting bad news on its first annual.
Oh, dear. Right. Okay.
So I've actually been drinking for about 3 days straight since every email that comes in from this maintenance shop, I'm like, well, hold on. Before I read it, let me pop open another beer.
Yeah, quite. So, yeah, absolutely. Prepared and in readiness. So, I mean,
Hello, is that Naked Wines? Yeah. Could you send 5,000 cases?
Yeah,
please.
I am wearing a Naked Wines hat, so we're not sponsored by or promoting Naked Wines.
More's the pity. Yeah, absolutely.
For every $500 that this maintenance shop adds, I'm going to order another case of wine.
Right. Okay.
Now, the latest on the saga is apparently there's been a service bulletin on this airplane since 1948. Keeping in mind it's a 1946, and had to do with an aileron bracket replacement. And for the last, I don't know, I can't do that math, however, 60 years, 70 years, it hasn't been done. So now I'm going to have to fly the airplane under a ferry permit because remember, a Piper Cub is made out of fabric and wood. So I need to find somebody that will tear the airplane apart, replace these brackets, and then stitch it all back together and then paint it. So that's great. It's been a great week. Cheers, everybody.
Lovely.
I'm guessing we've gone beyond the gaffer tape and
you know who I need right now is Nick Camacho. I would rather pay Nick Camacho to come to Charlotte for 2 weeks and do this repair as a newly minted A&P mechanic. Congratulations to Nick. But yes, there you go. Airplane ownership.
Lovely. Okay, so you're really enjoying it then, are you?
It is what it is.
Okay, fair enough.
I read that on a bumper sticker.
Lovely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a phrase I've been using an awful lot myself this last. It's like because it's Mother's Day here on Sunday, and I got Mum a Mother's Day card, as is traditional, with the thing, and it basically sort of set up the message I put into just like, wow, what a year it's been, and I can't believe it's only March. It's like I feel like I've been hit like by a bus. Anyway, yeah.
well, maybe I can assist you when I'm out with you in May, Armando. I'll bring some.
Well, he's quite handy with a sander. Will that help?
Yeah, sander.
And he's quite good with a hot glue gun as well.
Yeah, glue gun, spray adhesive.
I'll take it.
Right,
Duct tape and baling wire. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Super glue and paper
Lovely.
clips.
Excellent. Good. What a win.
Failing that, Matt, I'll take Armando out a good old helping of Yorkshire tea.
Yorkshire tea and Jaffa cakes. That's what he needs. That'll help him get through it. Yeah,
that's great. Absolutely. When you visit, you better bring him with you then.
Right. Okay.
Well, I've got the Yorkshire tea. We can get that here. It's the Jaffa cakes that are hard to find.
Right. Okay. There we are.
That's one suitcase.
Oh, and bacon rashers. Don't forget your bacon rashers. Is this an aviation podcast? But listen, we've had offline conversations about British bacon rashers are
up to the top of the list. Mazoos, hello to you, Mazoos. Good to see you in there. Lee Davies is in there as well. We scroll down. Richard Adams, hello to you. He's got the beer icon there. Good to see a beer icon. Our main man, Uncle Micah, is in there with the blue spanner of doom. We've got APG Show is in there. That's Captain Jeff. He's keeping an eye on things. John Jester is also in there. Hobby Time, hello to you. Aaron P. Katie is in there as well, or she was in there. She's probably off.
She'll have nodded off by now, to be fair. Yeah.
She's gone and had a gin. A G&T.
No, she's usually here until we hit the commercial news stinger, and then she's off. Yeah.
And Captain Ridiculous Wits, good to see you in there.
Yes.
Indeed. Scroll down. Let me just make sure I don't miss you. Dirk S. Hello to you, Dirk. He's joining us tonight from the Austrian Alps.
Oh,
wow.
Yes, you do.
Oh, blimey. Nick Codling, our guest from last week. Nick's in there. Hello to you as well, Nick. He's our latest or newest member of the team. Yeah. He's joining the fold.
Indeed, yes. I wonder if he's regretting it already. Probably. Yeah. he got hit with a barrage of information, I think yesterday, was it? Or it was just like, here, have all this data. Go.
We've got our very own military photographer, Jonathan Warner.
Ah, yes. Oh, yes, he sent me a picture, which I forgot to change. Hang on, let me do that while we...
Mark is in there as well. Hello to Mark Priestley. Good to see you in the chat room as well. And welcome to everyone who's joined us this evening. Don't forget, if you're listening to our glorious voices on an audio podcast and you want to see just how stunning we look on the YouTube screen, and take yourselves over to YouTube, search for Plain Talking UK.
I love how you said that seriously. That's utterly brilliant. Well
don't forget to click on, it's Armando.
Quite, absolutely, yeah.
Hit the subscribe button, the bell icon to be notified when Matt is clicking on that live button on that PC at home there. And, join in the fun in the chat room each week, because it's safe to say... the chat room's a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got loads of stuff to get through on the show today. Loads of great news stories. And we've got our caption list from this week, which sparked quite the interest on social media this week, because it refers to a certain host that's missing tonight.
Oh, does it? Oh, no.
More on that later.
Oh, dear.
So if all the team's ready, let's do some commercial news.
Let's do it.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
And the first news story this week is coming to us from Times of Malta. And we're heading 3 hours across here from the UK on an aircraft over to my favourite island in the Mediterranean. It is, of course, the island of Malta. And the headline, Ryanair says Malta air traffic controls misbehaviour causes fuel wastage. Those naughty guys in that control tower. So misbehaviour by Malta's air traffic control was a leading to longer flights and fuel wastage, the CEO of Ryanair subsidiary Malta Air, David O'Brien, claimed on Wednesday this week. Speaking at a press conference about his airline's summer schedule, he said unprofessional practices in the way aircraft were told to approach or take off Malta were costing his airline, and others added fuel costs as well. Giving examples, he said aircraft were not being allowed to carry out a continuous descent approach, and they had also been sent to unnecessarily holding positions without explanation. He said, our calculations, if you take 5 minutes per movement, show that 700 extra tons of CO2 emissions were dumped on Malta as a result, he said. He said he was informed that Malta's armed forces were training, which has also disrupted the misbehaviour by the local air traffic control as well. And the union in question, the Malta Air Traffic Controllers Association, registered an industrial dispute with Malta Air Traffic Services Limited, or MATS, in January after the two parties failed to reach an agreement on the renewal of the collective agreement. O'Brien also spoke about the impact of industrial action, which affects flights, and giving an example of recent strikes by the French air traffic controllers affecting flights going through French airspace. He said Ryanair was calling on the European Commission, the European Parliament, and anyone who is willing to listen to ensure that overflights over France were protected. If they want to have a strike and go ahead, but not at the detriment of the freedom of movement and the detriment of other flights, he said. So, Armando, if you'd like to explain to us, as you are the pilot in the room, the continuous descent approach.
Is that like when you get on a sled and you start at the top of the hill and you ski down to the bottom without stopping?
Possibly.
No, it's kind of it, right? So without getting the crickets, let's just say, the most commonly used arrival procedure or concept into big airports or a lot of airports is a standard terminal arrival route, right? So like if you think about it, it's a way for ATC. It's been around for a long time, and it's these little waypoints that are leading in. Sometimes there's one star leading into an airport, or like here I live in Charlotte, there's I think 7 different stars that ATC is able to plan with minimal communications for aircraft to basically get onto this on-ramp to an arrival procedure. And it's if you think about it, like a shopping mall, it's like having a bunch of people line up and going down the escalators, and you're going from the 7th floor down to the 6th floor, and then you walk on the 6th floor for a little bit and then down to the 5th floor, right? So it's a stair-step type thing where ATC is able to control the flow and tell everybody, hey, here's the waypoints, the altitudes, and the speeds that you need to hit in order to arrive from this the beginning of the star to the end of the star, and with minimal communications, right? They just say you're arriving via the stock car 3 arrival, period, and you are supposed to know what that is. Now, a continuous descent approach, not super common here in the States. There was a conference not too long ago, I think in 2020 over there in Europe, that said, hey, we're going to use these CDS, these continuous descent arrivals, because it saves a bunch of gas and it saves noise, right? So those are the 2 biggest advantage. Is now at the top of the continuous descent arrival, the CDA, you can essentially on most of these airplanes go to idle, and it's just more or less a 3-degree glide slope all the way from there to the instrument approach, initial approach fix, and then all the way down. So what that does is the airplane is essentially gliding or at idle power from a high altitude all the way almost down to somewhere on the approach. The advantages of that, it saves a bunch of gas, right? So without having to level off at these different floors. If you think about the shopping center analogy or the mall analogy, you don't, it's basically like riding an escalator down all the way instead of having to walk between the floors. So it saves a bunch of gas. It saves a bunch of carbon emissions because the airplanes are at idle. And then at different points, on a star, you have, you're configuring the airplane. So you're putting the flaps out, you're putting the gear out in order to maintain speeds. Now you got to put the power up. So you're using power, probably more power than if you were clean. So there are advantages to doing a CDA. The disadvantages to this and some of the risks are it's a high workload, right? Now you're having to monitor your progress basically on this big glide path. Now, if you're just on a big glide path, you don't have time to, or you don't have pre-planned points in that arrival to adjust either your speed, your altitude, or get configured or all that. So you really got to be Johnny on the spot. It's a little bit more labor intensive. And most of these airplanes, anybody that flies jets, it's hard to slow down and descend at the same time. So now all that being said, like John, John Jester in the chat room, I'm sure he's done plenty of these. One of the things is not every airplane is equipped to do this, which is why I don't think it's been super popular here in the States, although it was tested, I think from like 2004 to 2008 in, I think it was LAX, Louisville, Miami, Atlanta, a couple other places. But a lot of the airplanes, so like John in the chat room is saying, essentially you need VNAV, vertical navigation, or a plane capable of doing vertical navigation, and some auto throttles, right? In his case, it's easier. But some of these business jets, even some of the airliners, right, like a CRJ 200, I think some of them don't even have VNAV capabilities. Some of them don't have auto throttle capabilities. So it's more work on the pilots. And one of the craziest limitations, so I know I'm kind of ranting here, but aviation has the ability to leap forward exponentially with the technology. But the problem is that you always have to make it backwards compatible with airplanes that don't have that technology. It's why we still use VHF AM radios, which is like the most inefficient way to communicate. But you can't mandate to everybody go to like FM radios. It's the same thing with this, right? It's a great concept. It's great in theory. It saves a bunch of gas, saves a bunch of noise, but you have to make sure that every arrival is backwards compatible with the technology that is currently in the airplanes. Eventually, will we get there? Maybe. And then you get that weirdness of, well, how do you intermingle continuous descent approach capable traffic with non-CDA capable traffic? So there are some risks to it. There are definitely advantages to it. So related to the story, basically they were saying that the air traffic controllers were saying you are not allowed to do a CDA into Malta. So that does cost the airline money. That's at the end of the day, that's who's paying for it, right? So I mean, we have the environmental advantage of carbon emissions reduction, but at the end of the day, it's a money thing with fuel for the airlines. So they're being told they can't do it, and they're kind of fighting back on it. Was that short enough to not get the crickets?
No, that's very good. That's very good.
Quite, indeed.
No, I said to Lee, I'll agree with Lee in the chat room. He just said that, but Luca has definitely grown in the last sort of 10 years. If you haven't been to Malta or Luca Airport in Malta, if you've not been there for about 6 or 7 years and you went back now, you'd notice a huge change at that airport. Considering how small the island is, the airport is very, very well put together. So, yeah. Matt, you have got the next story, and it's the 380s are coming back.
Yeah, indeed. Just a short one, this actually. It's from flightglobal.com, and the headline is First Airbus A380 redelivered to Etihad after the pandemic grounding. Gulf operator Etihad Airways has taken redelivery of its first example of an A380 ahead of returning to ultra-large jet. The ultra-large jet to service this summer. Storage and MRO specialist Tarmac Aerosave today says it has redelivered the first of Etihad's A380s back to the airline. The aircraft has been stored and maintained at Tarmac's site in Teruel in Spain before being shipped to the Gulf carrier after further maintenance work at its French facility in Tarbes. Etihad grounded its 10 A380s indefinitely in April 2021, having parked the type as part of a wider action when COVID hit a year earlier. However, the type earned an unexpected stay of execution with the carrier as strong demand prompted it to judge it was financially viable to restore some of the jets to service. The carrier is bringing back 4 of its 10 A380s, initially deploying the aircraft on its Abu Dhabi to London Heathrow route. Tarmac in December redelivered the first A380 from storage for Lufthansa, another carrier which has opted to bring the type back into service to meet strong demand this summer. So, I mean, that's good news, isn't it? I mean, it's not just sort of BA and like Emirates that think this carrier still this amazing aircraft still has a future.
Yeah, plus Etihad does have a very, very nice package for passengers in there with their business class and their first class. Is it the residence at Etihad?
Yeah, I think so. Or is that the Emirates equivalent?
Or is that no? It's not Emirates. I'm sure it's Etihad. They've got a very good product, though. To be fair, Etihad. So, and I know through speaking to certain people that particular route from Abu Dhabi to London Heathrow is a very popular route.
Yeah,
not just for holiday makers, but for business as well.
Yeah, I bet.
Armando, we have a new airline coming soon.
Yeah, from AIN Online, amongst other places, Saudi Arabia is launching a new airline. The Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman formally announced this last Sunday the creation of a new airline called Riyadh Air. It has just placed an order for some Boeing 787-9s, specifically 39 of them, with an option for 33 other aircraft. The aircraft are expected to be delivered in early 2025, although the timeline for those deliveries have not actually been finalized yet. Riyadh Air, which initially used the name RIA, this is Saudi Arabia's plan to launch a new mega airline that is intended to compete with the other major Gulf carriers. It will be based at King Khalid International Airport and is part of Saudi Arabia's wider strategic plan to transform the country into a global aviation hub. The country plans to invest at least $100 billion in aviation by 2030. The current national airline, Saudia, will continue to exist, but will be based in Jeddah. And Riyadh Air will serve both tourists and business travelers, as most of those Gulf carriers do. And its goal, at least their public goal, is to be the size of Emirates, at least, but in a quarter of the time. So, speaking of Etihad, which you guys were, the former CEO, Tony Douglas, has been brought on as that new CEO for Riyadh Air. So, we'll see.
There's one thing just to note from all these airlines and stuff that are based, or this new airline, obviously, that's based over in the Middle East, and obviously Emirates and that, they can afford to do this because their fuel prices are a lot less than they are in the US and the UK. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, they're in the Middle East, there's so many resources, not just, petroleum based, but there's so many resources that so many investments that are taken on in the Middle East are calculated, and they're calculated to be successful. So if I were to put my money on this, I would almost guarantee, that the drive to make it successful is probably going to be there and pretty strong. So I can only imagine that in the next couple of years, really the next 2 years, we'll probably see Riyadh Air up there competing as far as a product quality, routes and all that stuff with Emirates and all those guys.
So the next story comes to us from Skytrax ratings.com, and Well, we've not had a top 10 for a little while. We've got a top 20, and this is the Skytrax Awards for the best airports. Skytrax, a UK-based review and ranking site in the UK here, compiles its list by surveying travellers from across the world and asking them to rate the entire airport experience, from check-in right through to departures and everything in between. The winner of the world's best airport was crowned at the Passenger Terminal Expo back in the 15th of March this year, which was held over in Amsterdam. So we'll start off at number 20 on the list. And at number 20 was Vancouver International Airport. At number 19 was Melbourne Airport over in Australia. Number 18 was Seattle Tacoma International Airport. At 17, Dubai International Airport. Well, I thought that would have been a bit higher, but
yeah. Do you rate it?
Yeah, it's a lovely. I've flown through Dubai a number of times. It's a very, very clean airport and very spacious and plenty to do as well.
But this is more about like the facilities, I suppose. I mean, is there?
Yeah.
You're right.
Nagoya is at number 16, International Airport, and at number 15, Osaka Kansai International Airport. Number 14, we're back in Europe. It's Copenhagen Airport. Then it's number 13. It's one of Jenny's favourites, the Rome Fiumicino Airport over in Italy. Number 12, Helsinki Vanata Airport. And number 11 was Vienna International Airport. Number 10, Madrid Badras Airport. Number 9, Tokyo Narita International Airport. I'd love to go to Tokyo. It's one of my I'd love to go to. Number 8 was Zurich Airport. Number 7, Munich. Number 6, Istanbul Airport, which is quite a new airport, actually, the new airport they opened up in Istanbul.
Nothing's broken yet, that's why it's all right.
Yeah. Number 5, this is probably the most shocking one on this entire list, and I think pretty much nearly all the hosts commented on the show notes for this. Number 5 was Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. I don't quite know how that got that high up the list.
Why do you think it's a bad airport then?
Oh my God, Matt! It's like going back into Austin Powers world.
Right. Okay. But I mean, retro's all the rage at the moment. I mean, it's. But if this is measured, the world's best airport and all that kind of thing is measured on the experience that they get in terms of the staff that are working it. Maybe the appearance of the airport is less of a factor than perhaps you think. Perhaps.
I wasn't. Neville Bounds in the chat room is saying Charles de Gaulle. Seriously?
Yeah. Well, quite. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 4, Incheon International Airport, Seoul. Number 3, Tokyo Haneda International Airport, or Haneda. Number 2, Hamad International Airport, the Middle East. And at number 1 was Singapore Changi Airport, the world's best airport dining and the world's best airport leisure amenities.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Which obviously means they've got some of those massage
fancy chairs. Yeah, absolutely.
Where you put your £10,000 in and get 2 minutes of
yeah,
back
indeed.
massage.
They've got the fancy thing that you put around your neck that sort of does that as well.
Special mention goes as well to Bahrain International Airport, who took the top honours with the award for the world's best airport baggage delivery, which I have to say is probably quite an important one there. But Armando, I expect you're quite upset to see only one, was it Seattle, one US airport in that list.
I was surprised to see that, but I have not been to many of these airports, so I guess in typical American fashion, I would love to think that we have the best of everything, but I know that some of these airports are really nice based on actually your guys' experience, and even in the chat room. People are always telling us, about their good and bad experiences. Nev,
is Seattle quite nice then, Armando?
Oh, I haven't been to Seattle in many, many, many years.
Oh,
it's probably been 10 years since I've been up there.
Gosh,
okay,
yeah, might have changed. You never know.
Wasn't that one of Micah's stops when he went like 3 ways around the world to get to the 400th? It was either Portland or Seattle. It was one of those.
He's in the chat room.
Yeah, and I'm sure John's gone there plenty, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed.
Oh, hello in the chat room to Jan, who's in there. Hello to you, he's in there. And also Plane Safety Podcast. Hello, Pip.
Ah,
He's
hello, Pip.
there as well this evening. Hello to you.
Indeed.
Matt,
Yes.
you have got the next story, and we're going all green again, aren't we?
We are indeed, yes. So the story we have for this one, the headline is in fact there isn't a headline, so we'll just launch straight into it. But it's from a couple of sources, mainly Euronews.com, and it's talking about successful test flights of hydrogen-powered plane, giving sustainable aviation a well-needed lift. Los Angeles-based startup Universal Hydrogen has successfully completed a 15-minute test flight with its turboprop-powered regional airliner using a hydrogen engine. Earlier this month, its plane, nicknamed Lightning McLean, I like that, successfully completed a 15-minute test flight in the US with a pilot and 2 flight crew on board. It made 2 passes around the airfield at Moses Lake, Washington, at a low altitude of about 3,500 feet, according to the developer of the plane, Universal Hydrogen. During the second circuit over the airport, the test pilots throttled back the controversial engine and cruised primarily on one hydrogen-powered engine. The adapted ATR-72 aircraft can usually accommodate around 70 passengers, but the large liquid hydrogen tank reduces the capacity down to about 40 passengers. This aircraft is by far the largest aircraft to use, principally using hydrogen power. With the large liquid hydrogen tanks on board, the range of an aircraft has to be compromised. The company estimates their current models designed for regional airliners can fly only around half of the gas-fueled plane's 1,600-kilometre range. Universal Hydrogen has already made deals with carriers in the US and Europe for its hydrogen airliners, with Connect Airlines placing an order for the conversion of 75 ATR 72-600 regional airplanes to hydrogen power trains. Now, we've got a couple of photos of the aircraft doing its test flight here. And I suppose this is one of the advantages here is, of course, it doesn't look particularly different to a standard ATR 72, does it? I mean,
that's not an ATR.
Is it not?
Nope.
Too short an ATR.
That's a Dash 8. That's a Q400.
Q400, yeah.
Okay. Right.
Interesting. I mean, it is hydrogen. It is that company, but that's not an ATR. Either way, I was going to say, this is, every couple of weeks we're doing a story about either hydrogen, hybrid, sustainable aviation fuels. Every single time that I hear one of these stories, I just have Neil, friend of the show, Neil Cluffley's on my shoulder thinking, boy, they're just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Also, it's worth noting that Matt said in that story that the aircraft that I said here, the aircraft usually accommodates 70 passengers, but because of that tank, it knocks that down to 40. That's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of space.
Well, presumably these are. It's not even just the space, is it? I mean, I presume there's quite a lot of weight associated with these as well. So, which is perhaps why the range is compromised as well. Still a long way to go, isn't there? I think.
Yeah. I guess we'll continue doing the stories until we finally land on something.
Indeed.
Exactly. So, Armando, you have got the next story, and it's about the things that you know how to fly.
Well, here's a story about not landing on something. This is from Flying Magazine and some local news media outlets. This was a thief crashed a helicopter at Sacramento Executive Airport after breaking into multiple helicopters overnight. This was just a couple nights ago. Now, somebody trespassed onto the property between 4 and 6 in the morning and tried to start 4 different helicopters that were sitting on the tarmac, according to the Sacramento police. That person eventually got one helicopter started and then promptly crashed it. Now, unbelievably, the person was okay and they fled the scene. They weren't actually aware of any injuries, but the FBI is now in charge of the incident and said that there is a person of interest. Hopefully it's nobody that we know in the show, right? But either way, Special Agent in charge, Sean Reagan, said that they had compiled some evidence, some witness information, and of course surveillance video that led them to this person of interest. However, they did not reveal how that person may be connected to the airport or the helicopter, which is actually owned by Capital Helicopters. And of course, the FBI is trying to figure out the why. Why would somebody want to steal a helicopter? Now, a statement from Capital Helicopters said sometime early this morning, several helicopters operated by our company were vandalized by an individual unknown to us, and one aircraft is severely damaged. And Matt's got some pictures there that I think he'll probably put up. All of their employees are safe. We do not believe that anybody was injured in today's events. The incident is currently under investigation by several state and federal authorities, and they are hopeful that the person responsible is located quickly and that they have no information at the time. As you can imagine, the FBI is there, the FAA is there, the NTSB is investigating. Everybody was there pretty much that morning. There was a security guard at the airport, but they said that it was
nap time.
Yeah, the guard would. We'll just go with unaware that the incident was happening.
Yeah. Okay.
They did that.
Yeah.
So, crazy. Like maybe, I don't know. Maybe somebody's got a little bit too much Microsoft Flight Simulator and thought that it was okay. That, I don't know. Crazy.
Or they just broke in and then got the phone on YouTube and they were like, how to start a Robinson.
Yeah.
Right.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark in the chat room says, please don't leave the keys in the ignition.
Do they have keys?
That's true.
Does this sound like a really daft question?
No, they don't. Not to start it. I mean, the doors have keys.
Right, okay.
But
I mean, once you're in, there's nothing to stop you from. It's not like you need, at least with your car key, you've got to hotwire the thing to fire the car up. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there should be at least like a keypad that you type into, like, the start code or something. I don't know. I feel like some element of security should be present.
Remember the club plane at Beccles, where I done most of my flying. The 150 had a little key. Armando will know this. Had a little key which you used to have to put in, obviously, to not to start it, but to get everything to turn on, switch on the electrics and stuff. But it was like a really stubby, tiny key, and literally anything that resembled closely that key would fit and turn in the hole. It was, yeah.
In all seriousness, security is a huge issue here in the U.S. I mean, even in our Charlotte area, thieves are aware that each piece of equipment inside some of these aircraft, even light general aviation aircraft, even an older Garmin 430, Garmin 530 unit in an old Cessna or something like that is worth $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. A touchscreen GPS unit, the Garmin 750 is $10,000 to $15,000. So, man, move aside catalytic converters, because airplane theft is a legitimate problem here in the U.S. and here in the U.S., here in Charlotte, we've had a rash of break-ins into aircraft, and they're stealing mostly GPS units.
Oh, really?
And then reselling them on Facebook, reselling them on black market. So if you are an airplane owner, I think most of us know, but you have to really, really watch out that the piece of equipment that you're buying is legit, that it's certified, that it's got the appropriate documentation coming with it. But yeah, it's a real problem, unfortunately.
Indeed.
Yeah, Richard Adams in the chat room saying huge and ongoing problem with the theft of Rotax engines, often removed from remote small fields. Rotax engines are incredibly popular in so many different applications, from snow machines to, mills. That a Rotax engine is really, really popular. So crazy.
Yeah, I mean, is the solution like security coding them, maybe, so that like this is going to sound really daft, but no, I mean, going back to like the GPS units and stuff that Armando's talking about, there is the answer, like you do with your car stereo, where you have to know like the 4-digit PIN code that's only available in the handset, for example, to when you power it down and plug it into another car, you've got to be able to put that code in order for it to keep working.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. They You know,
I mean,
I
they can do it with
I
a
could
car
see
stereo. I can't see why they can't do it with a device that is far more sophisticated.
yeah, I could just see the FAA balking at that because sometimes you have to recycle the unit
Oh, okay.
while you're in the air. So if you're flying IFR and your avionics goes out, you have to recycle your GPS, and then you put in the pin code 2 times wrong because it's
Oh, and locked out.
turbulent
Yeah.
and bouncy. Now you're locked out. And I don't know. Yeah, that's not poo pooing on that idea. There has to be a way to do this, but most of these things are receivers only, not transmitters. So could you do a remote type thing? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know, but
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't know what the solution is, really. Yeah.
Barbed wire and
Keys.
electric fences,
Keys.
Yeah.
Proper keys.
stun guns.
Well, I mean, again, my Cub is made out of fabric, so you could stick a pencil on the side and rip the fabric and
Yeah,
grab
true.
whatever you
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
Can't do that, Armando. It's got enough
It is.
stresses at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got.
I don't know. Maybe I got to find a fabric guy anyway. So if you're gonna steal something, that guy, go ahead and do it now. Sorry, I may be a little jaded on this.
No,
could-
we hadn't noticed. It's fine.
We could ask our T-shirt manufacturer Armando just to send you a ton of PTUK embroidered fabric, and you could
just like paper mache it on the side of the airplane.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be fine.
I think that'd look good.
I'll just turn in my registration and make it experimental, and then you can do anything.
So moving on to the next story in the list, and this one's from the Engadget.com.
Nice.
And obviously, in the last few weeks, we've had about 600 million events where aircraft have either tried to land on each other on the runways or fly into each other on the runways. And over the headline is that US airports now have software to prevent aircraft from landing on taxiways by mistake. So over the past few years, and with the recent issues and rises in close calls at US airports, there's a new technology that will prevent further major accidents. It's a guy standing on the side going, "Don't land, don't land."
Okay.
It's the Federal Aviation Administration tells Axios that 43 major US airports are now using ASDEX, Taxiway Arrival Prediction, or ATAP, a software platform that warns air traffic controllers if an aircraft is lining up on a taxiway by mistake. An aviator shouldn't endanger lives on the ground simply because they're inexperienced, they said, or fatigued, as was the case last year when an Air Canada airliner almost landed on several other aircraft waiting to take off at San Francisco. The system relies on standard radar along with other sensors. It also works regardless of aircraft size. It can flag small turboprops, large airliners, and ATAP first saw use at Seattle's Tacoma International Airport back in 2018. And the FAA says it finished software upgrades at compatible airports last September. Some of the airports using the tech include Boston Logan, Chicago O'Hare, and New York's JFK. Unfortunately, they said, we're not sure it will stop Harrison Ford from landing on any taxiways.
Oh, wow.
Or golf courses. This is more than just a theoretical exercise. The FAA notes ATAP has caught over 50 potential taxiway landings since 2018, and there's been 8 alerts so far this year in 2023. While accidental landings are far less common than crashes, and thus far less deadly, the software may still be helpful even if it presents chaos from an aircraft disrupting the queue. ATAP's rise comes as aircraft and airports increasingly rely on digital air safety systems. Airbus, for instance, recently began testing a pilot assist that can automatically divert flights in emergencies, aid with taxiing, and even land for the pilots if they're incapacitated. Full autonomy is still distant, but there soon may be many safeguards against everything from simple errors to unconscious crew. Software then.
So apologies to the author of this article. They didn't put the Harrison Ford comment in there. I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There you go. Just taking taking a jab at Harrison Ford because why not?
Sure, I don't think he'll mind.
I don't think he'll mind. You know what? Since he does listen to the show as an aviation enthusiast,
absolutely,
just go ahead and write us an email. In fact, you can just come on the show and we'll apologize
personally.
Face-to-face.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I would definitely be up for that.
Yeah, Carlos, you mentioned ASDEX. That's airport surface detection equipment. That's basically there's there's a tower on the control tower. There's some remote towers or some sensors around the airport. Works off of ADSB, right? So acronyms within acronyms. ADSEX works off of ADSB.
Lovely.
Yeah,
that's not confusing. I'm on board. Yeah.
But it basically picks up the transponders from not just aircraft but vehicles, ground vehicles. So it's a way for the tower to or ground control to monitor all of the traffic that's on the ground. What they're talking about in this article is a little bit different, and it's something that's up in the tower, and it's designed to alert the air traffic controllers, that final controller, if an aircraft seems to be lined up on a taxiway as opposed to the runway or on the wrong runway that they were assigned. So there's some logic behind it, but all of these things, especially right now, like you mentioned there, Carlos, like there's been this I don't know if it's just more visible now because of the media. The media's kind of latched onto it, but what they're calling all these close calls and these go-arounds and runway incursions, taxiway incursions, things like that. They're coming up with these technologies to try to avoid these kinds of mishaps from happening. And I think all of us in the aviation industry are kind of just on edge right now, just thinking, there's so many close calls. But
I do think you're onto something there, Armando, and we did say that because I don't think you were here for one of the. You sent us some videos, I know, for that, but. I do feel like perhaps that this has been going on probably as much as it is at the moment. It's just that it's a bit like anything, isn't it? Like we had like Jet2 and then other airlines always hitting the news because of fights that were breaking out on board. And you're thinking, oh, crikey, the world's gone completely bananas, when in reality they were happening before. But because like a few stories have appeared, the media has latched onto that. And I personally suspect that that's probably what's happening here personally.
Yeah, there's certainly an aspect to that. I think, there was another article published this week that we're not talking about on the show, but it has to do with the staffing at the FAA. They're severely understaffed, and then now post-COVID travel, they're really like trying to jam these airplanes in there. But yeah, I mean, and anybody that's in the chat room or a listener has either been part of, had to go around, or been the catalyst for a go around, because sometimes there's a loss of separation. Sometimes just the opposing bases guys call it the squeeze play. How does the squeeze play work? And air traffic control is doing their best to get everybody in and out of these airports. Sometimes, in fact, more often, like you're saying, Matt, more often than most people think, these kinds of things don't work out, whether it's winds or weather or just an airplane takes a little bit too long to get off the runway.
Yeah.
And people have to go around. It actually happens pretty regularly. But these kinds of misaligned, with a taxiway, things like that, that's something that is preventable. John is talking about it's an extra piece of the Swiss cheese to stop an accident. We talk a lot about in crew resource management about the Swiss cheese model, which is like the holes lining up in the cheese, and that's when an accident happens. This is an attempt to create another barrier to break that error chain in a mishap potentially happening. So,
indeed,
very interesting. Now, Matt, you've got a story. And this shocked me slightly when I read this one.
Slightly unusual, isn't
today,
it?
Because, well, it's just bizarre because, we have incidents that happen in the aviation world that get reported on, after the fact. And this one is quite after the fact.
It is indeed very, very strange. This is from It is Jalopnik, JALOPNIK.com, and it's the headline is: an airline is fined $225,000 after police had to free passengers from a flight in Florida. The US Department of Transportation has decided to fine German carrier Eurowings $225,000 for an incident that happened in Fort Lauderdale in Florida 4 years ago. Transatlantic flights are already uncomfortable experiences at their core. Passengers in economy have to spend at least a third of a day in a cramped seat, shoulder to shoulder. Now imagine crossing the ocean and spending an extra 5.5 hours trapped on a plane as it is sat on the tarmac. I mean, especially in Florida, I can only imagine the heat as well, unless they kept the APU running. In July 2019, Eurowings flight EW1182 was travelling from Dusseldorf Airport in Germany to Miami International Airport due to a weather-related closure. The Eurowings Airbus A380 was forced to divert to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. The A330 landed at 5:14 p.m. local time and parked at a remote stand after spending 10 hours flying and 30 minutes holding in hopes of landing in Miami. The Eurowings flight crew requested to deplane the passengers and transport them to the terminal by bus, but was unable to fill the US Customs and Border Patrol requirements to do so. CBP required that checked baggage be offloaded if the passengers were to be deplaned, but that there were no ground handlers available to offload the bags. The passengers were stuck on the plane. 2 hours later, ground handlers were finally available. However, the Eurowings flight crew declined to deplane the passengers and requested to fly to Miami. The Airbus A330 sat on the tarmac for an additional 3.5 hours until Eurowings was informed that Miami International Airport was still closed due to poor weather conditions. That's when passengers, restless and fed up with the situation, called local police. With police assistance, the flight's 268 passengers finally deplaned at 10:50 p.m. in Fort Lauderdale in response to this week's fine from the US Department of Transportation. Eurowings stated that it didn't operate regularly scheduled services out of Fort Lauderdale, only diverted there as a last resort, and didn't have the necessary services there for the flight in question. The German carrier feels that the tarmac delay was caused by forces beyond its control and that it shouldn't face the fine.
Staff or no staff?
Yeah.
When I know there's things you have to do and specific security things that you have to put into place in this situation, but you know, even if you had a even if you had a holding area at the gate with the barriers or the doors shut and just got the passengers off the aircraft rather than sitting on the aircraft, it's unforgivable. And I sincerely hope some of that $225,000 gets dished out between the passengers.
Yeah, it just seems an awful lot of money. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I feel like I feel like there was no need for them to be, you know, paperwork in place or not. I feel like there was no need for them to be sat on the tarmac in an aircraft. I mean, it doesn't say, unfortunately, in the article whether it was whether the APU was running and stuff. But I mean, even if it was a cool day, it's still going to be hellishly stuffy and hot and bothered in there. I mean, it's just awful, really.
Have you guys seen Super Troopers? The movie?
The film, yeah.
This is what I'm picturing, where the Customs and Border Patrol is like surrounding the airplane, not letting anybody off, but somebody calls the local cops, and then the local cops show up. Right, the local cops show up, and they're like, "No, let them off," and the CBP's like, "No, we are the staties," and then a police fight ensues, and eventually the passengers get off the airplane. That's what I pictured when we were reading this. But like, I'm with you guys. This is a fail on CBP's part. They, you know, at the end of the day, they're still humans. There's probably babies. There's probably families. There's probably elderly people. It would have been much more humane probably to just find an area, even if you load them onto buses, and then take them to a warehouse. Like, control it. You're the cops. You can do it. You've got
absolutely.
guns. You can control the people. They probably do. Yeah.
Although, to be fair, they probably didn't call the cops until like three or 4 hours in, by which time, like a solution was being found. But as I say, I just feel this could have been managed in a totally different way without too much hassle. Tony S is saying, by the way, the airport should have contingency plans for unexpected diversions. Yeah, that's a really good point, isn't it? Thanks, Tony. That's a really good point. Because even if it's not I suppose if you're flying an A320, if you're flying an A380, for example, you are a bit limited because it's more about the runway length, isn't it? But surely
Fort Lauderdale's an international airport.
Right. Okay.
That's big. Yeah.
So they
really should have something in place.
Yeah. Indeed. Even if it's not, and not helped by the Eurowings guys saying no, well, we're not going to deplane them now because we're going to fly on to Miami, and then of course there's lots of factors here that could have perhaps been processed and or handled differently. But as you say, it's the passengers I actually feel sorry for there, there, and I'm not surprised that somebody called the cops saying this is ridiculous. Do
you remember a few years back, guys? We covered that story about that captain on that aircraft who brought all his passengers pizzas when the aircraft was delayed. Do you remember that? He got the pizzas delivered to the aircraft while it was on stand.
God, can you imagine? How on earth? Be an unusual order for Domino's, wouldn't it?
Was it 200 and 268?
Gosh, yeah.
That'd have been one hell of an order.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
Anyway, moving swiftly on, Armando. This story, when this came out on the news this week, I thought this was something I could honestly imagine you doing, Armando.
Right. Okay.
I don't know about that, but Matt, if you're able to play out the video, go ahead and do it. But this is, if everything goes wrong with my old school original Cub, then maybe I can buy myself a Carbon Cub, which is basically this is a huge advertisement for Carbon Cub. What an incredibly capable airplane. This was put on by Red Bull. They gave the Luke Sapila, Mike Patey, who I've met a couple times, Cub crafters. I've flown a couple Cub crafters, Carbon Cubs. They gave him a pretty highly visible stage there in Dubai. But for all pilots who enjoy the challenge of landing short enough to take off to take the first turn off from the runway, that's me. Cub crafters just raised the bar. And if you watch any of the STOL drag races at Reno, you can see some pretty cool STOL short takeoff and landings. But the aircraft maker, Cub Crafters, collaborated with Red Bull and an extreme sports promoter, ex-Dubai, to stage the landing of this Carbon Cub on top of the helipad atop the 56-story Burj Al Arab hotel in Dubai. Luke Sapila, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's a Red Bull Air Race pilot, Carbon Cub owner. Flew a modified version of the aircraft onto the pad, which is about 90 feet wide and 695 feet above sea level.
As you do.
Yeah, and you could see there was some, there was some
missed approaches.
Missed attempts there. Yeah, Cub Crafters president, CEO Patrick Hogan said all the big moments start with little ideas powered by imagination and a desire to create something special. Red Bull has done many projects over the years that have inspired aviators worldwide, so we are honored to join them on this project to demonstrate the incredible capabilities of the kinds of aircraft that our company designs and manufactures. Cub Crafters vice president Brad Dem said that 2 years of planning went into this, and that the successful landing on this helipad really pushed the limits of what is a best-in-class STOL aircraft, and I couldn't agree more. Again, I've flown Cub Crafters. We actually did an interview at Oshkosh a couple years ago, 2019, where we aired out. I got a chance to fly the Cub Crafters Carbon Cub up at one of the remote airfields from Oshkosh. We played it out on this show. Mike Patey, he goes out to Reno a couple times. He's had a great following on YouTube. He's got some great projects that he's produced over the years, and he also owns a Carbon Cub, and he did join the technical crew in making the modifications to the aircraft. So There you go. Pretty cool.
That video is so good.
It is.
Video.
Yeah, no, it really is.
I'm not sure that I would try it in person, but maybe Microsoft Flight Simulator will come out with something like this.
Yeah, quite, absolutely. Do you know the best bit for me, though, and of course, obviously, it's far less risky trying to take off from there, of course, because once you've sort of fallen off the end there, as long as the engine's spinning and running and all that kind of thing, you're onto a thing. But like with the smokes, and there's, sort of going into I guess you call that a stall, yeah, where we sort of like come off you just literally dive off the end there.
Yeah, dive off and
pop it on there. Yeah.
Just beyond beautifully done. Do you know what I mean? The whole landing and then taking off again with full on smoke trail and stuff. Just a mark of respect to the man. I doff my cap to him.
Well done to him.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed.
Going to say hello to David, who's joined us in the chat room. David's joining us from Adelaide in Australia.
As
hello
you do,
to you,
right.
David.
Okay.
It's I can imagine what's Adelaide. That'd be very early in the morning.
Not worth thinking about. Probably 6 a.m. or something.
Early in the morning. Yeah, it's early in the morning.
Might even be 5 a.m. I don't know. Yeah.
Next story comes to us courtesy of Rich Goodwin airshows.com. And those of you who watch the show will know that I have a penchant for aircraft parts in my office.
That's brand new and shocking information.
With my 777 window, the TriStar window, and various other pieces of aircraft littered around my office here. But this guy has gone to the next level. So Rich Goodwin, air show aerobatics and former RAF Tornado pilot, has been undertaking a fascinating project to strap 2 ATM Lynx jet turbine engines to a modified Pitts S2S. The initial concept was born after an informal chat with Eddie Suerman, who designed the jet Waco and Yak 110. He said he felt Europe needed something different on the airshow circuit, and they joked that we could just bolt 2 jet engines to the pits and fly it after a weekend's work. Here we are several years later, he said, and almost ready to go, having overcome several regulation issues. I don't doubt that at all. Tailplane temperatures, containment of turbines in case of rotor bursts, and additional structural analysis on the airframe due to the mass thrust and gyroscopic loads on the airframe. The 2 ATM Lynx jet turbines deliver 700 pounds of thrust, and in combination with the 8.5-litre Lycoming, a total thrust of 1,700 pounds of thrust. The aircraft, which weighs in at 1,550 pounds, is, well, it's not very heavy at all, as it could do with a meal or two. The aircraft, Golf Juliet Papa Indigo Tango, that's the beer kicking in here, has been built from scratch over 4 years. While it has a Pitts S2S base, the wing design is very different. Bigger ailerons and more wing area give a phenomenal roll rate and better low-speed handling. J-Pitt has completed a test flying with the AMT turbines mounted, but is currently not authorised to run them during the flight. All test flying so far has presented no handling issues, and the next steps will be exploring the flight with turbines running at various power settings, including asymmetric handling characteristics. The aim is to inspire others in STEM and aviation through the Jet Pits project. Rich and his team will be displaying at RAF Cosford Air Show on the 11th of June, which is where me, Matt and Nev will be off to this year.
That's going to be amazing.
So, yeah. But that is just...
It's just a bonkers unit, isn't it?
It's just...
Yeah.
I could not imagine strapping even one of these jet engine or these jet turbines to the Cessna 150 that I learned to fly, because it would end up in various bits.
It's the flames coming out of that jet engine that don't make me nervous in any way, shape, or form. It's honestly, I don't know if
I was going to say Armando should try this, but then that's probably not a good idea considering what Armando's aircraft is covered in.
No, quite. Especially given because I think he's got enough to keep him amused with that at the moment as it is, let alone anything else. But I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it's just
really good
to have those jet engines running as well. Sorry, yeah. Love
It's
that.
so good.
Love that.
Going to say hello to Arnie. He's joined us in the chat room. He's running a bit late, bless him. But thanks for joining us, Arnie. Good to see you in the chat room as always. And yeah, you can see Armando's deep in thought now. He's thinking, can I get away with this?
No, he can't. Is the obvious and correct answer to that? That's definitely a hell no. That's what I reckon.
Yeah. I believe $209 million is what the lottery's up to. Maybe if I hit the numbers tonight, then I'll take on a project like that.
Indeed,
you'll be able to buy the Pitts company.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah,
probably.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I've never flown a Pitts.
Have you not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list of like aircraft that I've
must do.
Been around forever, but I don't know. They're pretty. I mean, they're great airplanes. They've obviously been around but they're pretty squirrely on the ground. It's hard. Do you remember Jody Ruger?
Yeah.
Did an interview. She owns a Pitts. She does aerobatics in a Pitts, which is actually kind of scary. And then Sean Van Hatten owns a Pitts. So there's plenty of Pitts out there, but I've never flown one before.
Yeah, indeed.
God, Matt, can you put that in the PTK diary?
Yeah, absolutely. We found something.
We found an aircraft.
Fly. Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't fly.
That was a Pitts special that I've forgotten the girl's name. That's really you'll remember it. Lauren. Yeah, she flies a Pitts special, doesn't she?
Yeah, Lauren flies.
Yeah,
a Pitts,
she does aerobatics and stuff, doesn't she? Yeah,
she does. Yeah,
indeed.
So, moving on to the last story in the commercial news segment this week, and honestly, I've seen the videos that are going on social media at the moment. There's a few on Instagram and there's some on Facebook of this, and it's brilliant. It's so good. If you're sitting on an aircraft and you're watching this at your window, I don't know quite what you think.
Quite, yes.
So
I think you'd be sitting there thinking, I hope it's not mine.
Yeah, this is from Insider.com, and it's all about luggage, but freewheeling luggage. It was so windy at the San Francisco International Airport on Tuesday this week that a runaway piece of rolling luggage went racing down the tarmac as passengers on a nearby aircraft watched. And the video, Matt has got he'll play that in a moment. Yet another atmospheric river of storms on the 11th so far this year struck the region this week, with winds gusting up to 74 miles an hour. Video. It's just so random.
It's getting quite a speed up, it has to be said, yeah. Oh, dear.
The extreme wind delayed more than 400 flights and cancelled 80 to and from the airport and the Bay Area reported, but it wasn't enough to stop this piece of luggage from taking off, as one Twitter user noted. Declan Weir tweeted the video of the baggage zooming across the asphalt, and the roller bag's adventure didn't last long, though. It crashed into a patch of grass on the taxiway just as quickly as it took off and was captivated as passengers watched. All I've got to say is that, you know, some wheelie luggage can be a bit, you know, bit rubbish, but this obviously had. This must have been a Samsonite. Yeah. This must have been a Samsonite case.
Although I would be sitting there going, "Oh, for goodness' sake!" as they go steaming across. It's like, "Oi!" I'd be like, "I hope that's not my suitcase."
Nev in the chat room has got a fantastic question.
Right.
He wonders if the case had a GPS tracker in, so they could register the speed.
Oh, that would have been that. Yeah, I hope so. Is the short answer to that? I really, really hope so. That would have been amazing. That would have been amazing.
Turk S says, "Run, little suitcase, run to freedom. You can do it.
You can indeed do it. Absolutely." Oh, dear.
I love that. That is absolutely brilliant. End on a high on the commercial news.
Indeed.
So. Up next, it's time for our Caption This Just for Fun.
Oh, is it?
Show.
Cool. Okay, right, hang on.
And as Matt furiously gets the picture loaded into the player system, we every Wednesday. What's up, Matt?
No, it's fine. Carry on. It's all right. It's all right. It was one of the jobs that I was given by our producer, which I forgot to do. Right. So just chat amongst yourselves. I'll be with you in a minute.
So this week we had a picture that I discovered online, and with a bit of creative, artistic prowess, the picture was transformed
indeed
into what Matt will have on the screen in just a moment. And Armando, for the sake of those who are listening in the audio world, what does this picture depict? And your mic's
Don your
on.
finest
There we go.
polyester and your finest velour, because this picture features two individuals in apparently 1968, maybe 1967. No, I don't know. But judging by the colors, they're also being served a very wonderful spread of food here with, I think, a roast pork loin, some candied apples there. Yeah, we got some basmati rice, some vegetables, some dinner rolls, all in fine china, of course. And
Of course.
oh wait, we're captioned. I thought this was one of Nev's pictures that he sent us from his travels. But no, I forgot. We're doing caption this.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
It's captioned this.
It might be.
It does say 1A, and of course the seats are branded PT Air.
Of course. Indeed.
Yeah. So,
who could imagine?
I dare not take the first one because it must be said in a posh British accent. So, Carlos, why don't you take the first one from John?
Yeah, John says, thank you, Mr. Bounds, for the afters the company have laid on your favourite saute, treacle banana, or as we like to refer to it, ST banana.
I like it.
Sturman says, after being beaten to seat 1A, Nev decides to be the chef for the flight. They won't be smiling for much longer, said Nev proudly.
Bob says the lie your elders told you about flying in the old days, and they walked to school barefoot in the snow. Yeah, whatever.
True.
Yeah, absolutely.
David says, what? You ran out? The only wine I drink is Penford's Grange.
Oh, okay, that sounds fabulous.
Stuart says, PTUK Air, where the main course matches the seat covers.
Oh, dear. I'm not sure that's a good thing. Darry says roast beef looks overcooked. He's horrified.
Oh, it's a good point there. Good point there, Daria.
Yeah.
Jake says, no thank you. I only want a lukewarm cheese and ham toasty and a lottery ticket, please.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to give this one to Matt. Stephen,
Okay.
you can...
Stephen.
You can read
Yeah.
Stephen's.
The husband says, "Is that right? You've never had English. One moment, love. We'll be back in a jiffy." The wife goes, the English roast, Harold. But sit back down. And why does everyone keep calling me Diane?
Bob. What was Bob
Yeah,
saying?
go ahead. Bob says, no, sir. The form wasn't a survey of which foods you liked. You were asked to select the items you wanted to eat during the flight.
Oh, dear.
And Ian says, just leave the trolley. Thank you.
Quite, absolutely. Some guy called Nick, don't know who he is, says, the food is great, but please can you ask Captain Al to lay off the broccoli?
Ooh.
And
this one.
We have a
this
celebrity
one,
in our midst.
I know,
should
Richard.
say. Yes, absolutely.
I'd seen this on a chase question, on a quiz show question once, and I had to refresh my memory on Google as to what the anti-macassar was. He says lava branded anti-macassar,
Right?
And it is the kind of the doily hang over the back of the chair.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh, very good. Yes, quite right. I don't think
What does Ben Jones say?
I don't think Ben's got the right idea at all. Ben is saying mint sauce, please. I'm sorry, you can't have mint sauce with roast beef. That is an abomination. It can't
So
be
there
done.
we have it. Just going to look.
We've got some in the chat room. So
What we got?
Oh, okay.
This gentleman named Neville Bounds says, more importantly, because he speaks in a Texas accent, right? More importantly,
Yeah.
who the heck is that in my seat?
Quite right. Good point. Well made. Good point. Who else have we got?
Let's see. Puebla Champ says that he loves that love the knife that the flight attendant has. It is quite an impressive.
It is a fabulous knife, isn't it? Yes. Can you imagine that being permitted these days? Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'll give this one to you guys in a posh British
Sir,
accent
your start course, if you would like.
Let's see. Another Nev one.
Neville Bounds in his youth discovers Seat 1A and endless buffets. Lovely.
Yeah, Carlos, I'll give this one to you.
Mark says, what carbon footprint?
Okay,
Yeah.
or you can read the one on the screen. That would be nice, Carlos.
Well, that was the next one on the list, to be fair.
No, that's not the one that's on the screen.
Richard Adams says Nev was so shocked by Carlos's gluttony
Ah.
that he donned a wig and a frock to hide. It was the only seat number that gave him away.
Yeah, good point. Well made. That would happen.
And I'll take Dirk's, which says, Miss, would you be so nice to use your knife to remove that woman next to me from my seat?
My seat, yes. How very dare you. Absolutely. Some standards just are appalling, aren't they?
It's worth noting, this is how things used to be.
I know,
years
isn't
ago,
it?
guys?
I know. It was back in the days when flying was a luxury. I mean, I suppose it's good that it's not... that it is accessible to everyone these days. I suppose we should be grateful for that, should we not?
So thanks to everyone who contributed this week to the caption this. There'll be more next Wednesday on our social media. So if you don't already follow us on social medias, there'll be info about those at the end of the show. But check out every Wednesday when the next picture, the fresh picture, will go up on our social medias for you to comment on. And make us laugh. That's the most important thing.
Definitely.
Right, time to hand things over to our resident grey expert.
Well, no, we're actually going to stand by until Jonathan Warner sends me a text that says he's checked into the formation. So we'll just have a quiet time.
Okay, right. Just for a minute.
No, I'm just kidding. Hit the button. Hit the button.
What's up, breeze 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 seat boogie.
All right. Well, one of the things that happened this week, we don't really have a story on it. We're not really going to talk about it because, it's just the whole spy versus spy thing. But apparently a video came out. It was released by the Pentagon of a Russian jet dumping fuel on an American MQ-9 Reaper. So this happened over in Ukraine. It is what it is. There's not much to talk about there in my opinion, it was an unsafe maneuver. Really, not even for the drone. I think it was an unsafe maneuver for the Russian pilot. He if you're not trained, this is not a tactic that we train for, that anybody trains for, to sweep in over another aircraft, dumping fuel. It's not something that anybody practices. And apparently the pilot got it wrong and clipped the Reaper, and the Reaper ended up going down. And then, obviously that fuel getting ingested into the intake is probably going to bring the Reaper down anyways, or any aircraft for that matter. But the Russian pilot is actually pretty lucky that he didn't have to eject out of his airplane because he did make contact with the Reaper, apparently. Just a dum-dum. Hello, dum-dum. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Just a silly thing. He was probably told to do that, and he probably went. Kind of like the caption this a couple of weeks ago with the cheese grater flight thing, where he's like, "I'm sorry, you want me to do what?"
Yeah,
I'm
sorry, Nat. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, it is what it is. Our first military story that we're actually going to talk about has to do with Air Force One. So, simpleflying.com, bunch of different media outlets covered this week, but the delivery of the new Air Force One has been pushed back, and a new livery has been confirmed. So a new paint scheme for this aircraft. Boeing did confirm that the delivery has been pushed back, and the Air Force confirmed that President Biden had selected a new livery that shares some similarities with the look of the current Air Force One fleet. This aircraft is also going to feature some unique modifications to provide the president and the staff with safe and reliable air transportation. So this VC-25B program, which is ultimately to deliver 2 new aircraft to the Air Force, and they're currently working through some of those modifications. Now, the aircraft is going to be newer and larger than the current Air Force One. As you guys know, Air Force One's not actually the airplane. It's the call sign that the airplane uses. So if he was riding around in a Cessna 172, that would be Air Force One.
Can you imagine that, honestly?
You know what? Now that I think of it, my little Piper is the same colors as Air Force One, just reversed. Interesting. That should be a caption. This. Anyway, the current two Air Force Ones are modified 747-200s. They're known as VC-25B or A's. So this will be the B model, which are 747-8s, -8Is to be exact. These aircraft are obviously going to be more fuel efficient. They're going to have lower operating costs. You can imagine those other two are getting a little bit long in the tooth nowadays. But as far as the paint scheme goes, it's new. It's reimagined. Reimagined from all the different iterations that they've gone on, but still very classic. The aircraft is going to have a larger fuselage, so the livery has three primary differences from the current paint scheme. According to the Air Force, the light blue on the newer model is slightly deeper, has a more modern tone than the original robin's egg blue used on the current fleet. Additionally, the engines on the new 747 is going to use a darker blue from the cockpit area versus the robin's egg blue, and there's no more polished metal sections on this new VC-25B because modern commercial aircraft skins don't really allow for polishing because it's not, they need to be covered. So it's going to have kind of like a subtle, light gray undertone under the underbelly. The original concept art for the jet previously featured, the red, white, and blue livery because it had been publicly expressed as a preferred livery in 2019 when former President Trump was in office. President Trump had initially decided the aircraft would display a design based on the colors of the American flag, but the reaction to that was actually a little bit mixed. It turned out that a thermal study, a heat study, concluded that the design's dark blue color would require additional qualification testing from the FAA of all people and several commercial components due to the heat in certain environments. So as a result of the increased cost for testing and modifications and basically more of a delay, President Biden revealed that he would revert to a color scheme, similar to the current one, as we've seen. And Matt's showing the proposed paint scheme from a couple years ago there. Now, Boeing was not required to determine a formal contractual decision for this new livery until this year. Now the company will conduct its engineering, certification preparation, supplier selection, blah, 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 all for the program. So, and as you can imagine, the rest of the aircraft is also getting modified. The current Air Force One, or the new Air Force One, is going to have probably a much more enhanced communications capability, security equivalents to that, level of ground support. And they also said that they're going to get electrical power upgrades, some medical facility upgrades, and a self-defense system, which I can only imagine that the current aircraft already has. But either way, the cost to retrofit each one of these airplanes is about $3.9 billion. That's with a B dollars. Yeah, there you go. So 2027, 2028 is when we're going to see these these aircraft roll out.
Wow.
I think it looks great. I love the traditional classic livery, a little bit updated and modern. So that is
2028.
But yeah, they got to modify the air. Well, that's not that far away, Carlos.
That's years away.
It's really not.
It
It's
is.
really not,
God, bloody hell, I'll be retired by then.
Dream on. No.
Well, I'm glad they revert back to the original colour. And Jonathan Warner actually says in the chat room, so basically they didn't like Trump's option and went back to the old paint job.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get into politics in the show. So next story from the drive.com. You know what? Really, really long story. I'm going to abbreviate it by basically saying that the Air Force, in some recent documents, some doctrinal documents, they've announced that they're going to send something like 300 aircraft over the next few years to the boneyard, and that they're revealing plans to buy at least 200 next generation air defense fighters and 1,000 collaborative combat aircraft. So these are the aircraft that we've been talking about on the show as the next generation aircraft. We've had some artists renderings of these, and then the loyal wingman concept, kind of basically one manned aircraft controlling a swarm of unmanned aircraft, all working collaboratively. This is very much the Air Force. The U.S. Air Force is taking the lead in having this kind of capability in a modern Air Force. There were some announcements just last week at the Air Force Association Warfare Symposium. The requests for funding are actually going to start in 2024 to develop these new systems. So I think once it gets budgeted, we're going to see some actual development, some production of these. Now this figure of 1,000 collaborative combat aircraft was based on the 200 next generation air defense fighters. So it's basically, if you kind of parse it out, it's going to be a couple of unmanned aircraft developed and produced and delivered per manned next generation aircraft. As you can imagine, how the details, what the technology is going to look like, is a little bit under wraps. But we've talked about on the show plenty of times that it will have something approaching artificial intelligence, if nothing else, some machine learning. But the ability for these aircraft to both communicate collaboratively but operate autonomously is also going to be there. And this is going to be a game changer for the U.S. Air Force. And kind of based on like production and the money being pumped into this, you can almost imagine that they are going to be the first Air Force to reach this kind of all around next gen, what the Air Force of the future is going to look like for the next 20, 30 years or something like that. So we're not that far away. Again, Carlos, 2025, we'll start budgeting, start building them, and we'll probably start seeing them rolling out pretty soon. Swarms of aircraft. Dirk in the chat room says it's a brilliant story for the PTUK episode 1000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's not too far off, actually. I reckon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but, no. To be fair, another 11 years. To be fair.
Tell you what, you guys over there have got some serious money lying around to be buying.
Oh yeah. Right. I said we're gonna not get into politics.
Yeah. Moving on. Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's never mind. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that we could be using that money on. But
they should just buy 1,000 next generation Cubs.
Right? Can you imagine a swarm of Cubs attacking you? Oh, that'd be so cool. Next movie, PTUK movie special 2025.
Right. Okay, good.
No CGI involved.
No, none whatsoever.
Speaking of new and money, it's a boat story, but I gave it to you, Carlos.
Yeah, this is good because obviously I have been lucky in my past to have a member of the family who was in the Royal Navy and got the chance to go on a few of our aircraft carriers and destroyers and frigates here in the UK. But this is on the Business Insider.
No, I'm just kidding. You said frigate.
Yeah. Honestly,
go on.
Honestly, Armando, you're such a child. Such a child. TheBusinessInsider.com, this is from. And obviously the US have got, if they're going to build something that has to be bigger than everyone else's. And the US Navy's newest supercarrier is underway with all its available air power for the first time. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the US Navy's newest supercarrier, is operating underway with all of its available air power for the very first time. A Navy official confirmed to insider reporting from Navy Times that this is the first time the entire carrier wing has been embarked on the Ford for an underway period. The ship is underway for a composite training unit exercise known as Computex. The exercise assesses a carrier strike group abilities to conduct military operations at sea and project power ashore through joint planning and execution of challenge and realistic training scenarios. Second Fleet spokesperson, Lieutenant Commander Christy Johnson, told Insider the evaluation is planned and executed by the Carrier Strike Group 4 staff and it tests the mission readiness of deployable assets to perform as an integrated unit. Johnson said the Ford's Carrier Strike Group includes staff from the Carrier Strike Group's 12th Carrier Air Wing and the 8th Wing and Destroyer Squadron 2. The participating vessels include the... Oh, blimey, I can see why you gave me this one, Armando. The Ticonderoga
Ticonderoga
class guided missile cruiser. Smith. And the USS, wait till next week, the USS Normandy and Arleigh Burke
I don't think
class
I'm available
guided
next
missile
week,
destroyer, the USS Ramage, and the USS McFowl and USS Thomas Hoodner. The first in class, Ford, is the Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier and has a price tag of around $13 billion.
Ooh, cheap.
Billion dollars. The ship, which was launched in 2013 and commissioned in 2017 and first deployed in 2022, has suffered delays and setbacks. Well, haven't we all? Remember when they launched the Ark Royal, Matt?
The what now?
Exactly. It has many setbacks. So it's a litany of new technologies, including advanced elevators that can move missiles and bombs to the flight deck, and electromagnetic catapults that are supposed to be capable of launching aircraft more effectively than steam catapults on the Nimitz-class carriers. Navy Times reported on Thursday that during the Ford's short 2022 deployment, around 80% of the air wing had embarked on the ship. The Ford began Computex exercise on March the 2nd with all its available air power, including fixed-wing fighter jets, airborne early warning aircraft, and rotary aircraft. The Ford's Carrier Strike Group demonstrated to the world what high-end naval warfare and integrated NATO interoperability looks like when it sailed on its inaugural deployment back in 2022, said Rear Admiral Greg Huffman, commander of the Carrier Strike Group 12, or the 12th Carrier Strike Group, in a March 3rd statement. Now the strike group's initiating its final step in fully certifying as a combat deployable warship. Computex will further demonstrate the Carrier Strike Group is combat ready, a naval force capable of conducting a full spectrum of integrated maritime, joint and combined operations, he's added. The Ford Carrier Strike Group is expected to deploy on its first full-length deployment sometime later this year. And I hope they come this way. It'd be nice to see that dock in Portsmouth. Next to our... be nice to have our latest carrier, the Prince of Wales, with this one next to it, just to see a difference in size.
Well, Matt had some of the videos and pictures, and it's kind of eerie to see an aircraft carrier with no aircraft. I know there's some comments in the chat room that maybe hit a little close to home about the British aircraft carriers not having aircraft. But it's my favorite part in kind of this story and some of the videos that came out with this was the hard turn that the aircraft carrier took. Obviously, it had nothing on the deck, but did you see that like the way it took a turn and the whole ship is listing, to the right as it's making that hard turn? Can you imagine something the size of a city or a city block just moving like that and turning like that? And I thought it was super cool.
There you go. I think I found it. There you go.
Yeah, that right there. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the left side of that ship, the port side, my Navy terms, has to be, a couple 100 feet in the air, and the starboard side's got to be almost touching the water. And the videos are amazing how they're testing this, with some F-18s. I think there's an E-2 Hawkeye that pops up, $400,000 toilets, as you saw there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I meant to stop it before that.
Hey, it is. No, it's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, new aircraft carriers, new nuclear powered aircraft carriers, pretty cool. But anyway, that's pretty much sums up the military for this week.
Goodness me.
Thank you, Armando. Yes.
Yeah. I don't believe it. We're actually going to finish at the time that I try to finish us at virtually every single week.
Oh, Matt,
there you go.
Like that.
This is exciting.
Actually, on the note of finishing, we may well finish early. Obviously, there may be another podcast lurking somewhere in the midst that's starting soon. We obviously Nev has got a pile of books across in his realm, which we are going to start a competition. Hopefully, we're going to start a competition next week on the show. So make sure you tune in next week, where we're going to have some very, very very nice aviation books on offer
Indeed.
as prizes.
Oh, by the way, as you were mentioning other podcasts there, don't forget, of course, something very exciting happened this week.
It did indeed, and I listened to said podcast yesterday, actually, whilst I was at work. Steve and Grant have released their first...
So while they're busy making fun of Dan,
You're going to do some more crawling on the chance that Dan Air will hire you.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Visher with a V, by the way, Dan.
That's right. And Dan, I do have my commercial ticket. It's not current, but I can fix that problem.
And mine's American, so you know.
Why are we all looking at the camera like Dan's actually?
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
You're not going to say you're my father now, are you?
Yes, if you haven't already listened to the show, Steve and Grant released their first episode this week. It was, honestly, being someone who listened to them on the Across the Pond segments on the Airplane Geek show and listened to their show, the PCDU Plane Crazy Download show, it's so good to have the guys back.
It is, yeah,
It really
absolutely,
is.
yeah. It's and in answer to Armando's question that he's just sent me, yes, I do.
Well, you were answering my question, which I'm answering John Jester's question.
Okay.
How about we play this out?
Okay.
Carlos, have you seen this? This is something that came to us from John Jester, who, we love just following as he traipses the
I'm playing the video first, am I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
So
Here we go.
this was taken from his aircraft at altitude. Is it going up? Yeah, there it is. Now, this is what, and a couple weeks ago, I tried to get a picture that was similar to this, but this is another aircraft from his aircraft at night, and the strobe lights are lighting the contrails that are coming off the aircraft. So, Matt, if there's one more picture up there that he managed to get a still frame, look at that.
Oh, wow.
It is that. Now, that is the Millennium Falcon?
Millennium, even.
Yeah, we'll call it the Millennial Falcon.
Okay, why not?
Falcon.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah.
And this is so cool. I don't know how you other pilots feel about this, but one of my favorite things to do is fly at night. You get to see some really, really unique. Last week I was talking about that flight back from Florida that I had that was just unbelievable, and the moon and the sky and the stars. And when you're up at 30, 40,000 feet, man, it's just one of the coolest and most eerie feelings. But then you get sights like this, and I guarantee you that this picture isn't even doing it justice. This is probably from the flight deck. This probably looked even more impressive, 1,000 times more impressive. Very cool picture.
Aaron has some beef, by the way. I'll pop it up on the screen there for you. Nice pic, but 4 engines. How yesterday?
Oh,
how rude!
Right. Well, you know what? We were going to give Aaron the opportunity to sit in the flight deck of a 747,
Right,
but
okay.
that's
he's not
gone.
interested
Expired.
in it. Yeah. We'll just go ahead. Next person up, Richard Adams.
Yeah.
We're going to give it to Richard Adams. And such is life.
Oh dear, yeah. Lovely. Okay, good-o.
Oh, dear. Oh,
How to
very
win
good.
friends and influence people. There we go.
Yeah.
So that is where we're going to start to wrap up this week's show. But before we do, we'll have a little, as we have got a spare few minutes here, quick round robin as to what's going on in the world of the hosts next week. So we'll start off with Armando, because obviously you lead a far more exciting life than me and Matt.
Well, not next week. I've got no flying. The only thing I got to do is now fly the Cub on a ferry permit from one place in Charlotte to another place in Charlotte to get some fabric work done. But other than that, I actually have nothing. I have nothing until next weekend, I believe, where I have a short 4-day to Nashville, I think.
Nice.
Something like
Okay.
that.
Well, that's
pretty
quite
much
cool. Yeah, I like that. That's yeah. It's just explain to me what a ferry flight is. What the permit is. Literally just that, is it? So that you can fly it from one place to another as long as it's under a certain distance and.
Yeah. So my aircraft was undergoing an annual inspection, which is required for all certified aircraft. Experimentals only require condition inspection, but the problems that were found were during its annual. So because they can't sign off the annual as complete because of this incomplete service bulletin / airworthiness directive, it is both. I need a special permission to fly the aircraft because technically it's not in its inspection. It's out of inspection. So if something were to happen, I would be off the reservation. So the shop, what they're doing is they have requested a special flight permit from the FAA, and they'll receive an approval for me to fly on a certain day from A to B. They may stipulate some conditions on that it must be day VFR. And must avoid, certain airspace or populated areas, blah, blah, blah. But it's basically dotting I's and crossing T's and make sure that I'm legal to fly from one airport to another airport with an aircraft that is not completely airworthy. Now, it's not a safety issue because the airplane's been flying for 60 years like this, right? I'm comfortable in flying the airplane to another shop to get the correct parts put in there.
Is it going to be a long process getting the bits done, Armando?
I got no idea. I can only imagine it's going to be at least a month.
Gosh,
that the airplane will be down. So,
goodness me, that's not ideal, is it? Nev's been in touch, by the way. He's saying, I'm back next week if anyone's interested. Of course we're interested, Nev. He's flying to Stockholm on Monday for a couple of days. That's what he's up to. Thanks for that. So, Nev will be back next week. Carlos, what are you up to?
Notice he only said that after I said that I was not going to be on the show next week.
Yeah.
You're not on next week,
Armando? Yeah, no, he's got a 4-day trip. He literally just just said that.
Yeah, but he can still dial in. There's such a thing as satellite.
I'll be flying on Friday.
Yeah, indeed.
Poor excuse. Anyway, what am I doing? I don't know, actually. I don't know what I'm doing next week. Various jobs in and around the countryside of Norfolk and Suffolk here in East Anglia.
Yeah. I've no idea what I should be doing this week. I'll just be doing a bit of work, I think. And then outside of that, probably a bit of radio, squeeze a bit of radio in there somewhere.
Have you got a disease or something, man?
Yeah, that'll be what it is. Yeah, nothing to do with it being Red Nose Day today at all. Nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah. I must admit, I did have a spot here earlier in the week. I thought it was Red Nose Day early.
Right, good. Lovely. Thanks for playing.
Social media links. If you don't already know where to find us, well, you should do, because it's where our Caption This competition is each week. You can search for us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search for Plain Talking UK. There's also our WhatsApp number, which is +44 757 2249166. You can send us pictures, audio messages on there, and if you fancy putting your picture on behind the screen here with me or with Matt in the studio, send us a picture and we'll stick it on here behind us. As long as it's aviation related, obviously. Email the team, podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. You can send your feedback in there as well. And don't forget to check out our website, allthews.plaintalkinguk.com, where on there you'll find the links to our shop where you can grab yourself a marvellous PTUK t-shirt. We're going to get some more of those on order soon. So if you haven't already got yourself a PTUK t-shirt, they come in various sizes, have a lovely embroidered logo like this. Well, where are we? Like this one here, like that one there. There we go, like this one here, on the t-shirt with a print on the back. So well worth getting it. There's also the mugs on there, which I know Matt has sent off a mug this week to one of our listeners.
Just now, in fact.
Was it a grey mug or was it?
It was a grey mug. Yes, it was ordered, but I don't know. Perhaps they'll say if I'm allowed to say who did it, because they are in the chat room. But just before we went on air, they ordered it and I sent it. So
good.
So very efficient.
That'll be there quick.
Indeed. Hobby Time says, by the way, you need to see a doctor with that, Matt, as it could be catching. That's
very
fair.
true.
Yeah, that's fair.
The links are on there to our shop. The links are also on our website to Amazon, which I don't think we use anymore because that doesn't work anymore. No. So don't bother using that.
No.
But still buy things, because I do on Amazon. Spend far too much time on Amazon, to be fair. And also on our website are the links to Patreon and PayPal. If you fancy becoming a supporter of the show, there are links on there where you can become a supporter of the show. We have got a very, very lovely bunch of people who help each month to support the show and help us bring the content we do each week.
Absolutely.
And as we said a few weeks ago, we have got lots of big plans coming up this year for air shows, so make sure you stay tuned to the show. We are, obviously, as we said, we're going to be going to Cosford Air Show this year, which is one of the big ones we haven't done this year in the UK. And we've also got our P2UK meetup at the Battle of Britain Memorial Air Show at Duxford in Cambridge in September, I think that is, if I remember rightly. We've got that coming up as well. Plus, we've got some other meetups as well, some other air show visits planned during the year. So make sure you keep tuned to our social medias for all that info. Well, that is about all we have got time for episode 448 of the show. Don't forget to join us next Friday, where Nev should be back. Armando won't be here.
Contractually obliged, obviously, yes.
But we'll be here to bring you another show filled with lots of aviation content again. Thanks to all the chat room. Thanks to all the people who joined us in there tonight. And not forgetting everyone who downloads the show each week as an audio podcast. Thanks for downloading the show. And if you get a few spare minutes in the day, and you fancy leaving us some feedback on iTunes, there is a way you can do that on there, which helps to promote the podcast on there.
Indeed.
That is it. Have a fantastic weekend, whatever you're up to. Stay safe, enjoy yourselves, and don't forget to keep looking in the skies at those aircraft, as we do every day. From me, Carlos, here in the home studio, from Matt in the P2UK Master Suite Studios, and from the legend that is Armando in his studio. Take care, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone!
Top of the morning to you!